Hello there, welcome into the show. Well, that interminable off-season, which seems like it's gone on for at least 5 days, is finally over. Shaka Hislop, Adrian Healy, Steve Nicol and Craig Burley. Full house tells you something is happening, or close to happening. We've also got Ian Darke and Julien Laurent in the house. The closing of the Premier League transfer window is where we start today. We actually start in the early hours of the morning at Milan Airport, Malpensa. This was the scene as the Inter fans greeted the arriving Romelu Lukaku, who had just completed a £74 million move from Manchester United. It was on again, it was off again, it was back on. It is finally done. His transfer history, well, it shows you that Manchester United basically got their money back. Nearly. Give or take £5 or £10 million with the move. They spent close to 90 on him. Moving from Everton 2 years ago. Stevie, you haven't had the chance to weigh in on this since it was confirmed.
This is perfect for him and for Inter.
Yeah.
You know, he's better in a counter-attacking side. Conte will absolutely have them in a counter-attacking mode. It's absolutely a match made in heaven.
United do well to get their money back? Close to their money back?
Absolutely. Listen, if you can get 74 million for somebody you don't want, it's not bad business, is it?
No.
No, absolutely not. And all that would have happened was his value would have gone down and down and down as the transfer windows disappeared. So, no, it's a great bit of business for all concerned, if you ask me.
Well, it is in a way. I mean, look, clearly they didn't want him anymore, and they've recouped a huge sum of money. But let's not forget, you're going to have a manager and a board already under pressure because it's not, all right, Harry Maguire apart. What? It's fine selling somebody for that price. Who's going to lead the line for Manchester United? A club that has been rich in the history of having great strikers. You know, even coming off the bench, the current manager, you know, coming off the bench, you know, supporting that to the likes of Teddy Sheringham and Andy Cole and Van Nistelrooy and all these guys. They haven't got anybody.
You know, Fergie always had 4 centre-forwards. They always had 4 forwards. Now they've got Rashford. So the problem they've given themselves is if something happens to Rashford, injury, loss of form, whatever, then where do they go?
I mean, the only thing we might not be considering is that if somehow Alexis Sanchez rediscovers a form that nobody's seen for quite some time. Otherwise, I'm in agreement with everybody here. At least Manchester United a little bit thin. Listen, you've done well on a business side of things in getting as much money as you did for Lukaku. You probably could have done with getting this money a whole lot sooner in the summer and allow you to address some of those depth issues that his departure now puts on Solskjaer's plate. But otherwise, right now, again, unless we see something from Alexis Sanchez, it leaves Solskjaer thin in terms of options.
Ian, how do you weigh up this move?
Well, I think the guys are right. I think Manchester United look a bit thin on the ground in terms of strikers. It's obvious Marcus Rashford is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's chosen man as his central striker. I think the moment that Solskjaer took over, really, it was the beginning of the end for Romelu Lukaku. That's been a cold war. It's become even worse than that, and this deal with Inter's been going on for several weeks, and at last they've managed to make it. But Lukaku hasn't kicked a ball, has he, in pre-season? He's allegedly had an ankle injury, which is why he played no part in the pre-season tour, so they've got to sort that bit out first. But they've got people like Mason Greenwood, but he's a 17-year-old, and he's probably not ready to start in the Premier League, so Rashford has to come off.
You can't rely on Martial. And he's a talented boy, but he's so up and down. You've got Matic in there, who was flagging last season. You've got Pogba, who's still there. He might go before the transfer ends for the European clubs, but really doesn't want to be there.
It does leave him thin on the ground, doesn't it?
Listen,
It's not an inspiring lineup, is it?
No, this has been a, you know, all right, they've paid a lot of money for Harry Maguire, and he's a very good player, but it's been a pretty poor transfer window once again for Ed Woodward, who had lots of time to go out and give Solskjaer the players that he needed. Not a full-back and a centre-half. That's not enough, nowhere near.
Julian, I guess United and Lukaku will always have that night in Paris, won't they? Oh, sorry for reminding you that. But it does leave them, does it not, thin on the ground? We've been talking about Rashford and Martial, young Mason Greenwood.
Massively, and I really find it hard to understand and to believe that a club like Manchester United, who have known for weeks now that Romelu Lukaku didn't want to be there, didn't want to work with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that he was going to leave at some point for a lot of money. They knew that. It was a fact. Everybody knew it. And yet, at no point at all this summer, they put a plan in place to replace him, to go after someone else. Mandzukic, a little bit. Dybala, obviously, with the swap with Lukaku and Juventus at that time. Then a bit of Mandzukic. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't understand what the strategy is. I mean, I understand there was no strategy at all when it came to attacking players this summer. It was all about the defence and the right back in Wan-Bissaka and the centre-back with Maguire. But that's it. And I think for a club like United, it's just not good enough. You cannot leave... You cannot start the season without a striker like Lukaku, and having not replacing him is just not good enough.
Now then, what about a team that didn't make any signings at all last summer? Boy, have they been busy this summer. Spurs, so the final look at their transfer activity. A couple of late arrivals on the final day. Ryan Sessegnon and Giovanni Lo Celso, the Argentine, adding to what Mauricio Pochettino had already done earlier in the summer. On Lo Celso, I had a chance to ask Sid Lowe about his qualities just a couple of weeks ago.
It is true that I think you would look at him and analyse his performances last year with Betis and say that there is that slight question mark about taking that extra step. But you know, bear in mind, this is a player who came from Paris Saint-Germain who wasn't really getting opportunities there, but once he was given the opportunity, played really, really well last year. And I think it's entirely natural, particularly in a market as inflated as this, that people are talking about high fees for him. But I think if he's given a team that works well around him and he's given the freedom to either play in a kind of a number 10 role, or perhaps a little bit deeper, or maybe in one of those kind of false wide midfielder roles where he's encouraged to come inside, I think he's got vision, I think he's got technique, I think he could be a very good player for someone. Giovanni
Lo Celso, we saw him impressed with Argentina in the Copa America. Julian Laurent, let's bring you in on Lo Celso and Spurs in general. How impressed are you?
Very impressed. I mean, they made more signing just today than they did in the last 3 transfer windows. So, very good day for them with Lo Celso and Sessegnon. Sessegnon is a great coup because he only had 1 year on his contract left at Fulham, and £25 million, I think, for a player like him at 19 years of age is a great bit of business. And Ndombele, we talked about it a lot. And Lo Celso, I agree with Sid, if he adapts quickly to the way Pochettino wants him to play in that team and to the different style of the Premier League, he will be a success there because he has great ability, great vision, and his passing will be perfect for his relationship with Harry Kane, for example.
I think Ndombele is the one which everybody's kind of excited about to see what he's going to do and how dynamic he's going to be. But Lo Celso, you know, he's not the physically most imposing player, predominantly left-footed, but very good balance. You know, he's not afraid to take the ball in with under pressure, good vision, good pass of the ball, as the boys have mentioned, and another creative player for Tottenham, as long as he can come in and get up to speed with, you know, the Premier League and the physicality, which I'm sure, having played in Spain, shouldn't really be a massive problem for him.
Can they now challenge the top 2 because of this summer they've had?
Well, they're going to give it a good go. They're going to give it a good go. I mean, they're still going to have to be reliant on not getting too many injuries. I suppose the fact is Eriksen didn't go in the transfer window as well. Gives him another option.
Could still happen.
Oh well, sorry, yeah. He could go to a European club, and he's trying. I know he wants to go to Real Madrid, don't we all?
They've strengthened where they needed it, though. I mean, their problems for me were always in the middle of the park. When you're relying on Sissoko and Winks, they're good players, but they're basic players. You know, now you've got a bit of variety. The Chelsea can get forward and can play a pass. And you got Ndombele, who Craig said is the most exciting one, because in Ligue 1, this guy actually did everything. You know, he's big and strong, he can run with the ball, he can pass the ball, so the potential there is huge.
I think what you're seeing from Spurs, and credit to Pochettino, is with continued speculation around Eriksen, I think in Lo Celso they have somebody who can come in and fill that void if he does go, because we all know the kind of issues that the 2 differing transfer windows can possess. But this is a good-looking Spurs team that continues to get better and better. I don't think they're going to surpass any of the front 2, but I think with these signings they certainly put a little bit more distance between themselves and who you expect to be the chasing pack.
Don't forget Spurs had a player like that, and an older player now left to go to China, but when he was in his pump Dembele, you know, big and strong and could get around the pitch and really comfortable in the ball. This is a younger version, but much more mobile. Much more mobile and much more dynamic. So I think it's a great move for Spurs.
Ian, with these late additions, is it enough to turn a 2-horse race into a genuine 3-horse race?
I think Spurs will get closer. Remember, they were 27 points off the top last season. The interesting thing I think about Lo Celso arriving is, and the qualities that Sid Lowe was describing, is he a threat to Dele Alli's place in the team? Because I sense there's a little bit of disquiet at Tottenham about the repeated hamstrings of Dele Alli. And you saw Mauricio Pochettino, the manager, saying the other day he's got to start listening to his body better. And I don't think his form's been great for a couple of seasons now. So he might not walk into that team anymore. They've got more of a choice in there. They've beefed it up a little bit, but they need to keep Harry Kane fit this season, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Couple of final Spurs things for you, Jules. Dybala, of course, they were also interested in. Was it just that image rights thing that was the hold-up? And also, do you think Eriksen will actually eventually leave?
So for Dybala, yeah, I think it was always a complicated deal to make and to agree personal terms with him and with his agent because of that issue with Image Right, which belongs to another company who asked a lot of money for them, and also the time was so limited. They started that deal far too late in this transfer window to make it happen. Although they tried really hard, and Pochettino was pushing for it. He would have loved Dybala and Lo Celso both in his team this season. That one is a shame. And for Eriksen, the problem Eriksen has is that it seems that he only wants to go to Real Madrid, and right now Real Madrid is a no for him, and it's unlikely that they would go for him at Spurs and spend around 80 million euros for him. And I don't know who else then would come for him. So again, I think it's one of them where Eriksen, for me at the moment, looks like he could well be staying at Spurs this season.
Busy old day in North London this last day of the transfer window. Arsenal also getting involved, ins and outs. Craig?
Well, the one big surprise is, well, it's not a surprise because it was reported, but David Luiz, we didn't see that coming a couple of weeks ago.
No, we didn't.
I mean, Ceballos, I think he's a really good young player. Kieran Tierney from Celtic, I actually haven't seen much of him, but I know from talking to guys in Scotland, he is supposed to be a very, very good player. Now, he can play both left-back and left-sided centre-back, which he has played before. And, of course, Nicolas Pepe was the big signing. So that's going to be an exciting front three if that's the way Unai Emery decides to go.
Does that make their defence more solid, in your assessment?
This absolutely, in my opinion, means that Arsenal are going to play 3 at the back. You know, you're talking about Tierney joining, who can go up that left-hand side. If you have Bellerin on the right and you play 3 centre-backs, that's how it works for David Luiz. Let's not kid ourselves. Chelsea won the Premier League, and a lot of that was down to David Luiz, the way he had his 2 markers, and he didn't have to defend. All he was doing was reading the game, cleaning things up, and starting the ball passing from the back. So it has to be 3 at the back, because he can't play, or he's certainly not the same player in a back 4.
If he goes 3-4-3, I mean, it'll be an exciting Arsenal team, but if you think about that, that also means, you know, it can be shuffled around a little bit, but it means one Mesut Ozil probably sitting on the bench because he does not fit into that particular system.
Jules, with your Arsenal ways, can you see it happening 3 at the back?
Yeah, I can for sure. I mean, we put a team together in a 4-3-3 formation. I think Unai Emery has many options tactically for that squad. The problem with the 3 at the back is where do you put Nicolas Pepe? Because even if you play a 3-4-3, like Craig just said, this is not really the position, and Pepe would play a right winger. This is not the position where he's at his best, and it's not either the position where Aubameyang would be at his best on the left-hand side of that 3-4-3. So Emery would have to find the right formula to, you know, to make all those players play at their best. But I agree with Stevie. Eventually, the best position for David Luiz is that centre back, you know, in the back 3, because I don't think he can defend in one-on-one situation in a back 4, for example, and I think his lapse of concentration could be an issue in the back 4 as well, whereas he's far more protected in the back 3.
Listen, when he was in that back 3 at Chelsea and they were successful, in particular, Azpilicueta, beside him, had one of his best ever seasons, and he just mopped up so much. The question is when he goes on his wonders or makes mistakes, is who's going to do that at Arsenal?
Listen, I have no problem with the signing of David Luiz, and at the same time, I think it gives Unai Emery options. Because regardless of whether David Luiz is best in a 3 or 4, and regardless of whether we're talking about good David Luiz or bad David Luiz, it's better than what Arsenal have right now. And given this late in the transfer window, and we've been saying it all summer long, Arsenal have to address what they've been doing or not doing in the centre-back position. And this at least gets another body, a better body than Unai Emery had before.
Ian, we're looking at a potential Arsenal starting 11 in front of us with David Luiz alongside Socrates in a back 4. How much better are Arsenal now, in your view, than they were in May?
Well, I think they've done quite well, really. Remember, they are on a pretty tight budget there, but they managed to do a deal and structure it that they could get Pepe in with the goals he got for Lille last season. I think this Kieran Tierney is a real player. He could be another Andy Robertson coming out of Scotland, and I think for £25 million, that might be, pound for pound, the best deal anybody does. He can play left back, left centre-back, even left wing-back, so he's versatile. Well, he's got a great character. I think that's a wonderful signing at the price.
Talk about Wan-Bissaka at 50 million and how inexperienced he is. He's played in the Champions League. Many times.
Indeed. We didn't even get to talk about Andy Carroll's return to Newcastle, did we? Maybe you can read about that on our Transfer Talk webpage on the website, ESPNFC.com. Now, the odds to finish top 4 this season. You're not going to win much money on betting Manchester City or Liverpool to finish in the top 4. Spurs won't win you much either. Manchester United, Arsenal and Chelsea, that's where it starts to get interesting. Chelsea actually the outsiders, according to the bookies, in terms of the Big 6 to finish in the top 4. A lot of predictions have been made over the last few days. Ian, you haven't had a chance to shed light on yours. I think you picked Liverpool last year, didn't you? Ian, you've done it again.
Yeah, well, I was wrong last year, wasn't I? I was wrong by a point. They did put up a much better effort than most people said. I just got a feeling this year, and I think one of the journalists, I can't remember who said it the other day, that for this season, I think Manchester City, the title is a prize for them, but the Champions League is the prize. It's the one they haven't won yet, and I just wonder in the later stages of the season whether their focus might switch to that if they really do have a big chance of winning, and I do think they've got a big chance of winning it this season as well. Whereas Liverpool, this really is the holy grail, isn't it? They haven't won the title since 1990. They have a terrific side. I think they can do it.
30 years on, Stevie?
You know, I kind of agree with Ian, but I think you can't forget that the guy in charge is Pep Guardiola. He doesn't pick and choose what games he wins. Every time he puts a team on the field, he wants to win the game. So, yeah, I think the board would probably be more interested in winning the Champions League than the Premier League. But unfortunately for Liverpool, I think Pep's going to send them out every time, all guns blazing.
Just a recap of all our top 6 predictions. There isn't a lot of love for Chelsea, Craig. A few 6th place finishes, 5th place.
An experienced manager with 1 year of management, although he's a club hero, but doesn't make a difference. Sold one of the best players in the Premier League, and he carried them, in Eden Hazard. Have no real strikers, have 2 of their talented youngsters out with long-term injury, and can't sign anybody. And I've just lost another player in David Luiz. Whether they want it or not, he was a squad player for them, and so they're depleted as it is. I think it's going to be a tough year for them.
They got Christian Pulisic.
After what we've seen over the last 48 hours, I'm having my doubts about Manchester United. I think Arsenal can put them to 4th spot.
You want to change that?
Yeah. Can I have a do-over?
Have we got a pen?
Yeah, all right. I'll have a do-over. We work on that.
Hey, we will have, guess what, a Premier League game to reflect upon on tomorrow's show. Liverpool opening up against Norwich. We'll have all the reaction for you. Now, in case you're busy for the next 9 months, we've got it all figured out for you. Actually, we haven't. The data experts at Google Cloud, Opta and Squawka came up with, well, the entire season. They ran every fixture for the next 9 months, and this was the league table they produced for the 2019-2020 season. Manchester City winning their 3rd consecutive league title. Liverpool, Spurs and Chelsea rounding out the top 4. Mo Salah winning the Golden Boot again. Ian Dark and Julian Laurent are with us. Artificial intelligence, machine learning artificial intelligence used in producing these standings and results. Ian, how accurate are they going to be, do you think?
Well, it'll be fascinating to find out computerized number crunching. I mean, these guys do have all the statistics to hand. I mean, you look at their predictions and it's not too outlandish, is it, to say Manchester City are going to be champions again? I think that's what most people will predict, that Liverpool will be second and it will be the usual suspects in the top six. But, of course, one thing you can't factor into this is loss of form, injuries, managerial changes, and all the various hurdles that make the whole Premier League story so dramatic and such a soap opera all season long. But, you know, maybe their guess is as good as anybody else's, and maybe this is a bit more scientific. It might even be the future, but, hey, look, it's a bit of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Julian, they did put in the fine print down at the bottom a couple of other things they couldn't legislate for the new winter break. Clubs are going to get 10 days off in February, staggered. And then, of course, the use of VAR as well.
Yeah, of course, and we know how big and important data is now in football, and all the numbers and all the statistics that pretty much every manager and every club are using massively now. You could also think about Liverpool, for example, going to the to the Club World Cup. That's going to be very different for them, compared to a current normal season, and they would have to adapt to that, and that's something that data can't predict. They will have a lot of games to catch up with in the league after going to the Club World Cup, and you don't know what kind of impact that will have on them, on their squad, on Jurgen Klopp, on his rotation in the league prior to that competition or after that competition. Then there's a winter break, etc., etc. So there's still something that data can't predict, and that's what makes it so beautiful.
Well, it wasn't just the Premier League that the big data number crunchers got their hands on, also the Champions League. I'll just show you what they came up with from the quarter-finals onwards. Real Madrid and Barcelona meeting in a semi-final. The interesting thing was no English team made it past the quarter-finals. Liverpool and Chelsea both going out in the quarter-final stage. And it ended up with Real Madrid beating Bayern Munich in the final in Istanbul next May. Ian, how likely is that to be correct?
Well, off the top of my head, I don't remember Real Madrid and Bayern Munich ever being in a Champions League final, and they've met something like 26 times in Europe, so that's a bit of a freaky one, and there's never been a Real Madrid-Barcelona final. Fancy that over all these years. I don't know how you can really predict it. Having been in America recently, and I know there are only pre-season friendlies, but having a little look at Atletico Madrid, I think, they might make a strong run this year.
Not according to those number crunchers. They go out in the round of 16. We shall see. Thanks for that, guys. If you ever miss an edition of the show, the podcast version, always available on our website, also on Apple Podcasts. Apparently our predictions are never actually cast in stone. Shaka, you indicated you wanted to do a little change.
My predictions in particular are never cast in stone. But given what we've seen in Chancellor in the last couple of days, I don't think Manchester United are going to finish top four after all. I think Arsenal are going to pip them. They've addressed some of their issues. And in all honesty, United haven't addressed theirs anywhere near as well as I thought they would have.
So David Luiz makes the difference.
David Luiz makes Arsenal a top 4 team.
Now over Manchester United.
I'm happy with it. I'm sticking. I've gone for Arsenal in fourth, and they've brought a centre-half in. It's an extra body. Got options. I'm sticking with Arsenal.
Ian, anything you would change, just briefly?
Well, no, I only made the predictions yesterday, so I'm sticking by them. And I'm with Shaka. I think Arsenal for fourth, because I think they're going to be full of goals. They'll still let in a few, even with Tierney signed back there, and he's a good player. But I think, they're going to do OK, I think, Arsenal.
Yeah. Stevie, last chance to lose. Sticking
with Man United in fourth.
It's all speculation. We haven't kicked the ball yet. Right. I'm sticking.
Oh, look at you all.
Still not Liverpool to win.
Look at you with your morals.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
To be continued. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.